Lego has given us incredible builds for nearly 70 years, but buried among the masterpieces are sets so baffling, so poorly designed, and so universally hated that they make you wonder what the company was thinking when they approved them. The 1950s, the original town plan. We're kicking off with the 1950s and set number 810, the town plan from 1958, which is technically one of the first Lego sets ever released, but calling it a set is generous. This wasn't really a cohesive build, but rather a random assortment of basic bricks, windows, and doors thrown into a box with a cardboard base that showed where you could place things. The instructions were basically non-existent, just a suggestion sheet that said, "Figure it out yourself." For collectors today, it's valuable because of its rarity, but back then kids were essentially paying for a box of mixed parts with zero structure. The pieces didn't even lock together that well, because Lego was still figuring out the clutch power of their bricks. Parents bought this expecting a complete toy and got what felt like an incomplete prototype. The town plan represents Lego at its most primitive, before they understood what made a great building experience. The 1960s automatic binding bricks. Moving into the 1960s, we have set 234, the automatic binding bricks from 1966, and this one failed for a completely different reason. Lego tried to create a lazy builder's dream with bricks that would supposedly click together automatically without the satisfying snap that made Lego special. The mechanism involved these weird clips and connectors that were supposed to make building faster, but instead made it frustrating and imprecise. Kids and parents quickly realized these bricks felt cheap and didn't have the quality or the tactile feedback that normal Lego provided. The automatic binding system was so poorly received that Lego quietly discontinued it within a year. Reviewers from that era called it a gimmick that solved a problem nobody had. This set proved that sometimes innovation means knowing what not to change, and Lego learned that their classic brick design was already perfect. The 1970s Lego Scarlet Jewelry. The 1970s brought us set 280, the Lego Scarlet Jewelry line from 1979, which was Lego's awkward attempt to market exclusively to girls with buildable jewelry. The concept was that young girls could construct their own bracelets, necklaces, and rings using Lego elements, but the execution was embarrassingly bad. The pieces were too bulky to wear comfortably. The jewelry looked plasticky and cheap, and the whole thing felt like Lego had no idea what girls actually wanted. Critics and customers called it patronizing because it assumed girls wouldn't be interested in regular Lego sets and needed dumbed-down jewelry instead. The builds themselves offered almost no creative freedom since you were just assembling predetermined patterns. Sales were dismal, and the line was cancelled quickly, becoming one of Lego's first major missteps in gender marketing. This set showed that pandering to stereotypes instead of trusting your core product is always a losing strategy. The 1980s Lego Technic pneumatics set. The 1980s gave us set 8462, the Lego Technic pneumatic set from 1989, and while Technic fans appreciate complexity, this one took it way too far. The pneumatic system involved air pumps, tubes, cylinders, and pressure mechanics that were supposed to power various functions, but the system leaked constantly. Builders would spend hours assembling the mechanisms, only to find that the air pressure wouldn't hold, and the whole contraption would wheeze and fail. The instructions were notoriously confusing, even for experienced Lego builders, with over 200 steps that felt repetitive and unclear. Kids who received this as a gift were completely overwhelmed, and adults found it more frustrating than rewarding. Reviews from the time complained about the price point, which was high for a set that barely worked as advertised. The pneumatic elements were so unreliable that many builders just gave up halfway through. This set became infamous in Lego communities as the one that promised engineering brilliance, but delivered mechanical disappointment. The 1990s Lego Snap. In the 1990s, Lego released Snap, starting with sets like 35, 71, in 1998, and this was an entirely new building system that nobody asked for. Instead of traditional bricks, Zanap used flexible panels, beams and connectors that snapped together with ball joints to create bendable structures. The problem was that these pieces were incompatible with regular Lego bricks, which defeated the entire purpose of Lego's modular ecosystem. Kids who bought Snap sets couldn't integrate them with their existing collections, making them feel like an isolated, dead-end product. The builds themselves were limited to mostly abstract sculptures and simple creatures that lacked the charm of minifigure scale sets. The ball joint connections were also weak, and structures would collapse or deform under their own weight. Lego fans rejected Snap almost immediately, calling it a betrayal of what made Lego great. The line was discontinued after just 2 years, and is now remembered as one of Lego's biggest experimental failures. Snap proved that Lego's strength was in its brick system, and trying to reinvent that was a mistake. The 2000s Lego Jackstone. The 2000s brought us the Jackstone line, starting with sets like 4607 from 2001, and this theme insulted the intelligence of Lego fans everywhere. Lego designed Jackstone for younger builders using massive oversized pieces that required almost no skill to assemble. The sets could be built in minutes, with instruction manuals that had only a few steps, and the results looked bulky and crude. The minifigures were replaced with large Duplo-like action figures that couldn't interact with regular Lego people. Parents thought they were buying Lego, but got what felt like a cheapened knockoff designed for toddlers. Older kids felt patronized, and younger kids quickly got bored because there was no challenge or replay value. Reviews savaged the line for dumbing down the Lego experience and removing everything that made building satisfying. Jackstone was discontinued in 2003 after Universal backlash. This theme showed that underestimating your audience and oversimplifying your product is a recipe for disaster. The 2010s Lego Friends Heart Lake Shopping Mall. The 2010s gave us set 4158, the Heart Lake Shopping Mall, from 2014, and while the Lego Friends line had its defenders, this set was widely criticised. The shopping mall was overpriced for what you got with a retail price of around $90 for a build that felt hollow and repetitive. The structure was mostly facades with very little interior detail, and the shopping experience felt lazy with generic storefronts that lacked creativity. The mini dolls that came with it had limited articulation compared to regular minifigures, and the colour scheme of pink and purple felt aggressively stereotypical. Builders complained that the set was more about the brand's aesthetic than actual building quality. For the price, you could get much better and more complex sets from other Lego themes. Customer reviews frequently mentioned that their kids played with it once and then lost interest because there wasn't much to actually do with it. The shopping mall became a symbol of Lego Friends prioritizing marketing over substance. It proved that even established themes can produce lazy cash grab sets. The 2020s Lego Dots Pencil Holder. Finally, we arrive at the 2020s with set 41936, the Lego Dots Pencil Holder, from 2020, which might be the most pointless Lego product ever made. Lego Dots was a craft-focused line where you decorated objects with tiny tile pieces, and the pencil holder was the poster child for why this concept failed. For $15, you got a basic plastic pencil holder and a bunch of coloured tiles to stick on it, which you could do once and then never change, because removing the tiles was tedious. The build offered zero structural challenge and zero play value. It was just decorating a desk organiser. Kids and adults both found it boring because it wasn't really building and it wasn't really crafting, it was just sticking tiles in a pattern. You could buy a nicer pencil holder at any store for $3, and actual Lego sets for the same price gave you infinitely more value. Reviews called it a waste of plastic and a cynical attempt to sell Lego to people who didn't actually want Lego. The Dots line struggled from the start, and sets like the pencil holder showed exactly why. Lego had strayed so far from what made them special that they were selling glorified stickers. This set represents modern Lego at its most confused, trying to be everything to everyone, and ending up with a product that satisfies no one.